So if you miss an hour, grab the podcast Armstrong and Getty on demand.
Armstrong and Getty.
Okay. Gotta walk the dogs, school drop-off, meetings.
I can't even go to sleep if I do lolly. I can do ridiculous what the guy just did right there. You better not hit me because I have a camera running. Oh boy. I love black guys right there. Do-rags. Fucking hot. Oh.
Information regarding innovative healthcare on McCollum Wellness Radio every Saturday from 1 to 2 and now every Monday from 2 to 3. See you then.
Oh.
America is about to change big time, and Americans are tired of the big biased media. They want a news source they can trust, and they found one. It's Rob Carson.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson on KSCO.
Real news. No woke, no spin. Start your mornings with Rob Carson.
Just go to KSCO. Don't miss the Rob Carson Show, 9 to noon, right here on KSCO.
Hi, Armstrong and Getty listeners. It's MZ, the owner of KSCO Radio here, with an important message for you. We realize that Armstrong and Getty is an incredibly popular show given the strong positive response we have received since we started running it live on KSCO from 6 to 9 a.m. weekdays. That being said, we want you to know that if you own a local business or know someone who owns a local business, Armstrong and Getty offers a very attractive and reasonable cost advertising opportunity to grow just about any business. We're talking rates as low as $175 per week for everyday exposure on this incredibly popular live morning show. We have plenty of other advertising opportunities on KSCO that we would love to share with anyone who owns a local business and wants to grow it with us. Email me for the complete lowdown, mz@ksco.com. That's mz@ksco.com.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families of children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Serving you since 1947. This is the legendary AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz, a service of CBS.
The Armstrong and Getty Show. Here is where the prostate is. So you don't have to go inside the. You can actually just push on the, and that stimulates the prostate gland as well. And that they apparently really like that. But yeah, so that's why for male and male, is still very pleasurable because of the fact that it hits the prostate, and there's a lot of nerve endings in your. So the girls, the prostate, they're the equivalent to each other, but apparently that's why if you ever see, like, I mean, Target has them now, sex toys. If you go to Target, seriously, if you go to Target and go where the tampons and pads are, they just look like a little box, but if you open up, there's like a Velcro front to the box, you open it up, and then bam, sex toy.
What the hell was that, and why was it on our radio show?
That was a helpful high school teacher in Orange County, California.
No.
Physiology and AP environmental science teacher explaining where to get sex toys, how to use them, various sex acts you can enjoy, and how to pull them off, and that sort of thing.
Why are they teaching high school kids things that only the most adventurous of long-seasoned sexual adults know about?
Well, she has been placed on leave. There was a long, boring statement made about following the curriculum, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my God! I mean, why is that? So, obviously, that took up time from science, math, or reading, and what did you replace it with? That?
Well, what were parents taught? The school syllabus on the website explains that her anatomy and physiology class would include a unit covering pregnancy and the reproductive system.
Right.
That's what the parents are told, continuing our theme. But in reality, it's sexualizing children and teaching them radical gender theory, queer theory.
It's so weird that you feel like that's the role of a government school. What?
Yeah. Moving along.
Has that ever happened at any point in world history? Whether it's a king, whatever the government is, a dictatorship, king, or whatever, where they were teaching children how to pleasure each other.
And like 2 or 3 steps down the line, variations, if you know what I'm saying.
Wow.
Yeah, way beyond the basics, like 300 level class. Yeah, beautiful. So Gerald Posner is a guy he's an author. He wrote a big book about the big pharma and the opioid epidemic, for instance. He's into the pharma thing. And he's written a piece for the Wall Street Journal entitled The Truth About Puberty Blockers, and it's terrific. I'll read you part of it. But he says the fashion for transgenderism has brought with it a new euphemism, gender-affirming care, which means surgical and pharmacological interventions designed to make the body look and feel more like that of the opposite sex. Gender-affirming care for children involves the use of puberty blockers, one of 5 powerful synthetic drugs that block the natural production of sex hormones. Now, the FDA has approved this stuff for a number of things, but not this. They're using it off-label, which is not in itself an outrage. There are lots of drugs used off-label. In fact, about half of all prescriptions in the U.S. are for off-label uses. But off-label use circumvents the FDA's authority to examine drug safety and efficacy, especially when the patients are children. And some U.S. states have eliminated the need for parental consent for teens as young as 15 to start puberty blockers. And again, there's no data on safety or what have you that's gone through the FDA because it's being used off-label. Proponents of puberty blockers, writes Posner, contend there is little downside. The Department of Health and Human Services claims puberty blockers are, quote, reversible. It omits the evidence that, quote, by impeding the usual process of sexual orientation and gender identity development, these drugs effectively lock in children and young people to a treatment pathway, according to a report by Britain's National Health Service, which cited the fact that the vast majority of kids who start with the puberty blockers proceed to the cross-sex hormones. I would jump in and say that's because they're on that fast-moving conveyor belt of activism, and they don't have the guts to contradict the adults around them and say, let me off of this. Anyway, gender advocates also falsely contend that puberty blockers for children and teens have been, quote, used safely since the late 1980s, as a recent Scientific American article puts it. That ignores substantial evidence of harmful long-term side effects. The Center for Investigative Reporting revealed in 2017 that the FDA had received more than 10,000 adverse event reports from women who were given Lupron off-label as children. In this case, to help them grow taller. It's now being used in the sex change industry. They reported thinning and brittle bones, teeth that shed enamel or cracked, degenerative spinal discs, painful joints, radical mood swings, seizures, migraines, and suicidal thoughts. Some developed fibromyalgia. There were reports of fertility problems and cognitive issues. The FDA in 2016 ordered AbbVie, the company that makes it, to add a warning that children on Lupron might develop new or intensified psychiatric problems. Transgender children are at least 3 times as likely as the general population to have anxiety, depression, and neurodevelopmental disorders. Last year, the FDA added another warning for children about the risk of brain swelling and vision loss. This is the drug that it can be used safely since the late 80s and is reversible. The lack of research demonstrating that benefits outweigh the risks has resulted in some noteworthy pushback in the U.S. and abroad. They mentioned a dozen states have curtailed the use of this on children. Finland, citing concerns about side effects, in 2020 cut back puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones to minors. Sweden followed suit in 2022. Norway this year. Britain's National Health Service shuttered the country's largest youth gender clinic after 35 clinicians resigned over 3 years, complaining they were pressured to overdiagnose gay, mentally ill, and autistic teens as transgender and prescribe medications that made their conditions worse. Did you hear that? Britain's National Health Service closed the facility down because dozens of the people there said, you're pressuring us to diagnose confused kids as transgender and feed them these drugs. We won't do it anymore. We quit. And if you're in Britain and you have a job with the National Health Service, you don't quit it. It's like having a government job in the United States. It's a job for life and a pension. Reading on Posner's article, still the U.S. and most European countries embrace a standard of care that pushes youngsters toward, quote, gender-affirming treatments. It circumvents watchful waiting and talk therapy and diagnoses many children as gender dysphoric when they simply may be going through a phase. As we learned the other day, 80% of kids grow out of it, and they think, wow, that was weird. And that's it. Gender-affirming care for children is undoubtedly a flashpoint in America's culture wars. It is also a human experiment on children and teens, the most vulnerable patients, ignoring the long-term dangers posed by unrestricted off-label dispensing of powerful puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, combined with the large overdiagnosis of minors as gender dysphoric, borders on child abuse. I would disagree. I don't think it borders on it at all. I think it is child abuse. But that part about it circumvents watchful waiting and talk therapy. If you attempt talk therapy on a kid who's in the grips of the activists, they'll accuse you of being a transphobe and trying to misgender the kid and say you're going to cause that kid to commit suicide by merely trying to talk to them about what they're going through.
Right, like it's the equivalent of those camps that were supposed to turn you from gay to straight.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
I realize I rant about this stuff, but I thought that was a good piece of writing about a guy who knows pharmaceuticals. And there's so much dishonesty, but end of rant.
Yeah, and we're going to revisit the whole Glendale school thing. If you haven't heard that, there was a bit of a mini riot between different parents and everybody around the stuff they were teaching in school. Anyway, we got a text from somebody involved in the school who said a third of the kids have some sort of different gender, different name, different identity thing going. A third. So
which
obviously that's
encouraged to do.
Yeah, because even the most vocal activists for uplift trans aren't claiming anywhere near a third of people dealing with this.
It's like the emails we've gotten from parents who drove on field trips or whatever, who said, all the girls in the car said they were this, that, or the other. They were bisexual, they were pansexual, they were gender fluid, whatever, all of them, and none of the boys. It is a craze, a contagion among adolescent girls who are, desperate to belong, respond to the authority figures, and want to be praised and not, made a pariah. If you're straight and white, you're evil. If you can say, I'm pangender, all of a sudden you are embraced in the warm hug of approval. It's insidious.
So to be fair, I suppose we ought to play a clip or two of Mike Pence in his opening day. The things that he said running for president. We don't have to be fair.
Since when are we fair? What?
There's no necessity for that.
I think Mike Pence is like visiting your grandparents. You realize, the old values. Kindness and decency, I'm assuming your grandparents aren't angry drunks, folks. If so, never mind. But he's a nice fellow, that Mike Pence.
YMMV for the whole grandparent thing. Your mileage may vary.
Oh, yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, so I said this yesterday when you were out of the room. Agree or disagree? I think there's going to be this spate of people jumping in the race, and so if you follow this stuff at all, you gotta, mention what they said in their opening speech. But don't you think there's going to be a giant lull here? I'm hoping. This is my hopes being the father of my thoughts. Don't you think there's going to be a giant lull here over the next month or two? Although we'll be getting awful close to the debate in 2 months. First debate's in August.
Yeah, there's going to be a quiet.
There's got to be
6 weeks, 7, maybe 8.
There's got to be a lull here soon, right? Where nobody's going to give a crap what Mike Pence says, or Tim Scott, or anybody really, maybe outside of
You're going to have the unwashed masses of candidates try to catch fire in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, see how the fundraising goes, and a lot of them are going to find out, it's not catching fire, and I'm not raising any funds, and that'll be that.
I think some of them might have to actually catch fire, like that South Carolina woman. I think maybe self-immolation would be the only thing to get her on the news.
Wow! That South Carolina woman?
Yeah.
Nikki Haley?
Is that her name?
She was the governor. She was the ambassador to the United Nations. This is misogyny, folks. I'm seeing, I'm hearing, I'm looking at the face of misogyny.
Oh, more on the way. Stay here.
Armstrong and Getty.
Now, did you know over 300 million people watched the live coronation of Charles III of Britain last month? About the same as the population of the U.S. That's a lot of people. It's so easy to watch something like that and think, that could never be me. The wealth, these incredible riches, I could never own things like silver and gold. But that's not true. So many of our clients at Noble Gold Investments have ordinary jobs and ordinary incomes. They've just seen the light when it comes to investment and security. The crown jewels you saw at the ceremony are made of the most valuable and tangible asset of all, and so is a gold IRA. This month, the first solid 1/4 ounce gold standard bullion coin ever issued with Charles III's image can be yours with your own qualifying gold IRA or 401k rollover of $50,000 or higher. Just use the promo code KING. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com.
Here's a message just for the attorneys out there. So you passed the bar, joined a firm, or even built your own. Now are you finding out that you're doing more administration than actual law practice? Lexicon can help. Lexicon is a legal technology provider with over a decade of experience streamlining administrative tasks like timekeeping, billing, and more, so you can focus on maximizing billable hours and increasing